he too enjoyed a stress-free, delightful drive on a Sunday night up I-4 from Orlando to Ponte Vedra Beach. He has not outfitted his room as nicely as you and Murray. Nick Dougherty of Sky Sports, three-time winner on the European Tour. Good morning, my friend. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Already squeezed a little gym session in before speaking to you guys. So life is good, mate.
What a grinder you are. How fun was that when you got like tractor trailers passing you on the right side under the cover of darkness? That was fun, wasn't it?
The driving experience in the States, but particularly in Florida, is special. And I thought it's the holy grail of sights to be seen when on the road.
Yeah, people who think like the Housewives of Scranton, Pennsylvania is reality television. No, I-4 on a Sunday night, that's reality TV. You know, I was saying to you and the Europeans, and I'll get your thoughts overall about the guys who were there. Sandy Lyle, when he won in '87, you were 5 years old. And I think that the event, look, it was in its infancy there. It was a little bit over a decade old as an event. I'm not going to ask you if you remember it, but what was your first impression of the players, either when you started to watch it and then you started to understand that this is a big event, it's an important event, but do you remember first recollections of wanting to view the event?
I sure do, and it was always one of my favourite ones to watch. I mean, some of my best memories of being a kid in this game and being inspired, you know, to try and follow a career in the professional game was watching PGA Tour coverage on Sky Sports, because it's always been there. And of course, in the UK, it's a great time. It's on at night. So you have your dinner and then you sit in front of the telly and watch it. And for me, that one in particular, and it's not winners of it, I remember moments. And it's not necessarily the winners of it, it's 17. I mean, in the UK, and it still is to this day, whenever I see people when I get home, what people want to talk about is, oh, how about that on 17? Oh my goodness, he made a 7 there when he was only one off the lead. Or like, oh my God, what a hole in one that was. And it's always around that theatre because it is unique in our sport. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people think it's a great hole. I personally think it's an amazing hole. But for me, as much as that whole golf course, and I played it for the first time, Gary, actually, a couple of weeks ago when I was up there working at the studios. I qualified to play the Players, or would have played it in 2008, but sadly that was when my mum passed away, so I couldn't play. At the time, I thought, of course, I'm going to play 15 or 20 of these things because I was a master of the universe in my mid-20s. Right. Of course, life didn't work in that straight line. So I never got to play it. So I experienced it. I know it like the back of my hand from watching. I know it from covering it. But I played it for the first time. It's such an amazing golf course across all 18 holes, the questions it asks. But the one that always takes the headlines is 17.
I asked you in this, and I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently. When the Europeans started to not only win the Masters, and I don't want anyone to interpret this that I'm making this about major status. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just curious, at a time when, whether it be Seve for his genius, he was the best player at Augusta National in the 80s. Sandy won it in 88. And then from Olazabal to Langer to Faldo to Woozy, the dominance of Europe and all the Masters wins, I have a theory as to why I think they were better suited there than to the stadium course. Do you have any theory as to why? It's not just that golden age. It's then following that. Sergio was the next winner after Sandy in '87. That was 2008. What do you think about that?
Well, I think some of it, for me, the main reason is supply and demand. It's if you look back to 1987, I believe there were 5 or 6 Europeans in the field. And they were amazing, to be fair. And it was an era when they were knocking off those wins, especially at Augusta. But also in Opens in particular. It was 2 majors in particular that we dominated, or in that era, that golden era of golf, which also inspired the generations to come after. That's all our memories growing up watching, for me, Faldo doing what he did. But then you got to remember also small field at Augusta, great field, but smaller field, lots of Europeans, plenty of Europeans getting the opportunity to tee it up. Less so back then. The route to the PGA Tour was murky in terms of it wasn't so clear. They didn't have things in place like they do now. I believe this week there's going to be about 22 Europeans in that field, which is the smallest field we've seen at the Players as well. It's shrunk down. So 1 in every 6, 1 in every 5 to 6 players is going to be a European. having more players and the depth of talent like we do now in these events means it's more likely we're going to get someone at the end of the week with the trophy. They're not all Sevis, they're not all Faldos or Lambers or Woosies or Lyles or, but there's more of them and they can really play. And we see that week in, week out on tour. The depth of talent means that, sure, there's favourites in the modern day game, but we're not surprised when Batir is the man last week. I mean, yeah, absolutely. On his week, when he plays his best, he could win. And you could say that's the same for pretty much most of the Europeans that get that opportunity. So for me, the main reason was it's a bigger field and there were less Europeans in it. And as you said, they had close calls. It's not like those guys, well, they never cracked the top 20. Yet they did. They came close tons of times. But there's only one winner, isn't there? And it just happened that at Augusta, we had our fair share. And I think there at TPC Sawgrass, maybe less so. I mean, I think it leans more into ball striking. I think you've got to be a great driver of the golf ball. I think it tests all parts of the game. There is a feel of Augusta in terms of the shot making, maybe leans a little bit more into what a lot of the Europeans grew up with, because, the ability to move the ball, the iron play required to be successful at Augusta National, the greens can be a bit of an equaliser there at Augusta as well, because they're so difficult. And we think predominantly better putters back in the day were Americans, especially when playing in the US. So there's lots of little nuggets that maybe lead us down that road, but the reality is it's hard to win. And I think we have as much chance now as ever because we have more players with a chance.
No, I think what you said about not only number of players, but also it's not like they showed up there and didn't have a chance or didn't care. Faldo finished second. Olafable finished third. Sevi finished third. Langer finished second twice and a third. They were close. That comes down to a shot or two. Rory has won this twice. And in addition to the 2 wins, he had a 3-year stretch where he was starting to figure it out. 13, 14, 15, all top 10s. What is it about his evolution overall, but his understanding of what is required there that is reflective of somebody who embodies that success is always under construction, and that in totality, he may be better now in his mid-30s than he was, 7, 8 years ago in terms of the physical part of it?
I think that's a great question. I think there is a very big difference in the Rory now to the one that, let's go back to his pomp, you might say, when it looked like he was going to win all the majors.
Yes.
So 2014, he was a brilliant front foot golfer. So if you said to Rory, you push a little harder on that accelerator today, Rory, he loved that. Green light, yes, please. And no one's better. And I still think probably no one is better when he gets permission to put the foot down. But I think what he's done across the years is what you'd expect every great player to do, every golfer really who does it for a career. Your golfing IQ improves, your golfing intelligence improves. And around like TPC Sawgrass, the question is, it's there. It gives you the opportunity to chase, but it also very much tells you from experience when you watch it or when you play that golf course, if you push and you get it wrong, there is going to be a piper to be paid. And Sawgrass does that better than most, whether it be from the tee, whether it be with the approach play. 17's the perfect example of it. Discipline around TPC Sawgrass is imperative. And as much as it does still find low scores around that golf course, there's big numbers waiting at every single corner. And Rory has been that guy more so than Scotty Scheffler. If we're going to separate the two, I think one of the things that Rory continuously points towards, because I think it's front and centre for him in what's evolved for him as a golfer, is knowing when to pull the trigger, knowing when to play, as Tiger did through his entire career, aggressively conservative or conservatively aggressive, whichever way you want to put it. Picking smart targets, but being fully committed to him is what it means. Scotty is the best in the game by a margin in this modern day era. Tiger was the best in the game by a margin in his era. And I think Rory, because he's smart and because he wants to win plenty, and he does, has evolved into becoming a player that does that more often. Maybe not quite to Scotty's level, but I think because of it, he's more polished. When he has to push, he's the best in the biz. But he also knows that I can still win by playing smart. Every flag doesn't have to mean it's a green light.
Yeah, Nick, it's fascinating to me, all athletes, they get tagged. And I think Rory was tagged as the guy, a thoroughbred horse racing kind of analogy. He liked clean air. If he was at the rail at the top of the stretch, you weren't going to catch him. but if he got nudged to the outside, he couldn't find his way to the line. His record in the U.S. Open, even though he hadn't won since 11, is a sign of a grinder. The idea of a guy willing to take one in the chops and dig in. And I think that is a redefining component to him that is admirable. Let me ask you about Ludvig. And it's not just because he had a good week this past week. He's just starting his third full season on the PGA Tour. Give me your assessment of where he is at 26.
I think it's interesting. So I chatted to him a little bit last week about the sickness. Is weird, right? 2 years in a row, same time of year, same thing. And he's checking some bits and bobs out, doing some tests, maybe some gut stuff going on there. And those little things do get in the way. The bit that was always tough with Ludvig is that as much as, I mean, I dare say, almost Tiger level, because of what he did when he first hit the scene and how quick he won at the RSM, he won on the DP World Tour, he's in the Ryder, he turned pro in June, he's in the Ryder Cup in September. You know, I mean, it doesn't happen. That's a lot of expectation from the outside, sure, but also internally, because he knows he's that good. Luke Donald, I remember chatting in Detroit, and I chatted to him, said, what do you think of this guy? Because he played with Ludvig, and he went, he's going to be a generational talent. One round of golf. Also, he's been watching, obviously, but like played with him, and he said he's different. And all of those things put a lot of pressure on a player to go ahead and deliver on it. And we know in the modern day game, it's really hard. Scotty Scheffler, Rory to a degree as well, they make it look like, well, yeah, because I'm the best, so I will win a lot of tournaments, because they do, but it's not that simple. Golf is not that simple. It doesn't always go to plan. It's volatile, it's unpredictable, it's unfair, it's all of these things. So being highly decorated and winning all of the time doesn't tend to happen. And I think that perhaps has been a little bit of an obstacle. When you look at the makeup of his game, dropped off a little bit. He went from being in those first sort of 7 or 8 months as a professional, probably the best driver on tour at a time when you couldn't take that mantle from McIlroy or Scheffler. He's been off the boil a little bit. Iron play dropped off a little bit as well, certainly in recent times. What was great to see last week was he led proximity. He was third in terms of strokes gained approach. It's a body of work for 1 week, but as you've seen across his results as well, Gary, he's got better each week this year after being poorly at the very start of it. I feel like we're going to get a nice run from Ludvig through this season. I think he's going to be back on the horse. Remember, it was only a couple of years, 2024, he was second in the Masters as well. Yeah. Easy to forget these things when it's not pictures of guys with trophies. We think, yeah, he hasn't done anything, has he? He sort of has. Last year wasn't his best. I expect to bounce back in 2026. All
right, before I let you go, give me 2 Europeans. Let's put Rory in his own category that you're bullish on this week.
Okay. I'm going to go for a couple of great iron players. I could easily lean into Aberg, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because of the reasons that I saw last week. I do think he's going to play well this week. I think Shane's going to bounce back. I thought he might do it immediately, a heavy one, to just slide by. I like the way he dealt with it as well. I mean, almost it was the outside agencies making it into something else. I think Shane's quote was, "It's like someone's died out there at Bay Hill." But from like how it was being talked about, that would have stung. That would have really stung. The double down the stretch there at the PGA National to lose out. But the reality is he's playing great golf, dusts himself off, back up again. One of the best iron players. It's going to be imperative around TPC Sawgrass. I think Shane's going to have a great opportunity, and I think Sepp Straka, albeit it was disappointing Sunday at Bay Hill, great start to the season, brilliant ball striker from the tee with the irons. That'd be my 2 picks for Europe.
Nick, as always, I greatly value the time. I look forward to seeing you this week. Thank you.
Pleasure, Gary, always.
All right, that is Nick Dougherty, Sky Sports 3-time winner on the DP Tour, the European Tour.